I have big questions. You have little answers. Tune in every Friday. Dad, I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the veil and why is it important?
That is an awesome question. So we're going to back all the way up to the book of Exodus, maybe even all the way to Genesis. So remember when Adam and Eve, we were talking about that in one of the earlier questions, they decided to not trust God, right?
Yeah.
And so they broke the relationship with God. And then we have a bunch of other stories. We won't get into all those. But what we really need for our hearts to be fixed is we need God to be close. And we need God to be with us. And to change even our hearts is the most important part. We talked about that.
Yeah.
But we need God to be close. But if God is perfect and we are not, it's really hard for us to interact with each other, isn't it?
Yeah.
So God wanted to come close. And the way that it worked in the Old Testament was if you got too close to God's presence, it would actually hurt us and even kill us.
What?
Now, there's some times where that changes. We see Moses and Abraham interact with God in different ways, but that's a whole other story. So God wanted to be near, but he wanted to protect us too. So God brought his presence in this unique way called and contained himself into the Holy of Holies of the tabernacle and of the temple. I know we've talked about this before in our own time, but we'll go through it again just for making sure everybody knows.
Yeah.
So once a year, the priest could go into the Holy of Holies to make an offering on behalf of all the people. Do you know what they did to make sure, in case he didn't do all the things right?
Yeah.
What?
They tied a rope to him.
Yeah, in case what?
He died.
In case he went in and he died because he didn't do all the kind of preparing himself right to be in the presence of God, because it was really dangerous. And so they would tie the rope on so that if the person went in and God's presence, it was too holy for them, they would die, so they'd have to pull him out dead on a rope. We don't want that to happen, right?
No.
So God protected us by having that veil. It was a curtain that was like super thick. Now, curtains can get heavy when they're just thin at home, right? Have you ever lifted up a curtain while it's on the laundry or something?
I hated that.
They get heavy. Can you imagine one that's like a foot thick and really, really tall?
Oh.
So that's all that God had, that we had there to protect us. But here's something really neat. When Jesus died, have you heard what happened? What happened to the curtain?
It tore in two.
It ripped right open. Did you guys know that? Yeah? It's a really cool story. And so the temple, where it was existing while Jesus died, the temple curtain tore in two. Now, that means God's presence could break out and be close to us, right?
Yeah.
So what would happen? If that was close and that curtain wasn't there, would that be good or bad?
Both.
Well, wouldn't it be bad, given all we just talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't happen that way, did it?
No.
So what had happened was Jesus had broken all the power of sin and darkness, like we talked about again in an earlier question.
Yeah.
And Jesus is the presence of God close to us. And so when he died, he showed the final victory over sin and death. And so Jesus had come near. That the way that the Apostle John writes it in the beginning of his gospel, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. He had come near to us, and he was here with us. That word actually means he tabernacled amongst us. Kind of like the tabernacle that was keeping God's presence there for the Israelites. So
Yeah.
Jesus came and was the presence of God for us. And so the veil was keeping us safe until we didn't need it anymore, because God's presence had come near in Jesus, and also he had beaten all of darkness, so we don't need the veil anymore, and we are allowed to now come close to God, and his presence is a welcoming thing for us, not something that is dangerous. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah.
Do you have any clarifying questions?
No.
All right. Thanks.